You had mentioned earlier that you spent your entire life, with excellence and mastery as sort of like your endeavor. Like you were just looking for mastery and excellence in all the things that you're going for. And I'm curious, did you find a way of applying that drive to parenthood? Like, I haven't talked to a single dad who's been like, I nailed it, and thumbs up 100%. It's been so super cool. I didn't do anything wrong. And if someone did say that to me, I wouldn't believe them. But I wonder with, like, someone who obviously has been successful being process oriented in the past. I mean, how do you apply that to something as dynamic as a child?
I've never felt like such a failure as being a parent. Um, and not that I've like, I don't think that I failed, but you can't define it. Like defining success isn't, yeah, it just doesn't, I don't think you can, or at least I haven't been able to, yeah, like everything else, like super proud of, accomplished amazing things, like set out, accomplished what I set out to do. And being a parent is just such a different experience for me. Like being a father and just, constantly thinking back, oh, like, you know, I should have done this, or I wish I'd done this, or more of this, or less of that, is constantly there. And I would argue that that's probably for most people. Maybe not all the time, right? Ebbs and flows, but yeah, I mean, and I think that's been a really hard thing to digest, right? Because it's like a lot of my like self-worth has been on my accomplishments, right? Like, I'm proud of what I've done, or the hard work I put into it. And then with being a father, I that is not what I feel, um I feel a lot of pride when, you know my daughter accomplishes something that she's been really working hard for, but I don't feel like, oh, it's because of me, I did that. Like it's so far from the truth.
Yeah.
It's like, no, 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 like she did that in spite of me. um and it's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't, um yeah. And I think that's been the hardest thing. So if for me, like um like I operated on like, okay, like we go back to the beginning of our conversation about defining who I am, right? Like who am I? And my how I define myself was through accomplishments, right? And this sense of success and, um yeah, and then all of a sudden thrust into parenthood where that is so like far removed from my reality. um and I think it deepens that question of like, well, who am I? Like if I'm not accomplishing, like I don't think I can accomplish being a father. Like you're just being a father, right? And yeah, so I think that that's been a big part of the like angst, if that makes sense. And everyone that I know, it's like everyone's in the same boat. There's no manual. There's no like instruction manual. I've been trying to read books and stuff, but
I
and a lot of it's good, like, implementing, you know, yeah, just
I
trying to implement.
sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. Go.
Go ahead, finish that thought. Finish that thought. I'm just taking notes because I really like what you said, that you don't think you accomplish fatherhood is just being a father. I love that quote.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And yeah, and I think being anything is messy because it's a process. It's like there is no, first, second, third step. Okay, great. Like now I'm done. Um, and it's ever evolving. So by the time you figure it out, it's all changed.
Yeah, that's something I even in the past few weeks I've picked up. I feel like we'll have like 2 or 3 days where I'm like, I've got this. This
Yeah.
kid's I've 100% got his schedule down. I've got my wife's schedule down. I've got his sleep thing down. The dogs are good. We're in balance. And then,
Yeah.
like, as humans do, he grows, he adapts, he evolves, he changes, he becomes more of a baby, and suddenly all of that like perfect balance that I had created is just turns out to be a house of cards and just is totally gone.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of being driven by accomplishments or being defined by accomplishments, a necessary portion of that means that there's a finish line. There's a thing that you have done.
Yes.
Past tense, you did the thing. And fatherhood doesn't feel like that to me. And it sounds like what you're saying is it's not like that at all. There is no, you can set, I guess, micro goals. We made it to the end of the day, or we made it to the end of the school year, or you graduated high school, or whatever types of goals you can set. But even after a certain point, your child's agency and autonomy is what got them across that finish line. So you can't really even take credit for like accomplishing that. You can't like check that box for yourself. You're not the one graduating high school. They're the one graduating high school. And I think there's like there's an inherent issue that has to arise there, right? Of like, if you're defining yourself by accomplishment and there's nothing to accomplish here, there's just thing to do. You just do the thing. You wake up, you do the thing, you go to bed, you do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
uh it has to have like a rough edge. It has to rub constantly in some way, maybe not like negative all the time. Obviously, if that's the case, there's something else going on, but like there has to be some sort of rub with just this idea of trying to like fit that hat on your head and trying to find out when you look in the mirror, you're like, who am I? Am I doing this right? What does all this, like, where does all this go? Is this the way it should be?
Yeah. When you, what comes to mind is being a business owner. I owned a gym for 10 years, right? And in the beginning of my experience with my business is like I'd always try to like, you know, clear my list of things to do. Like, oh, this is what I need to do, and like I got to get it all done. And for anybody who is, entrepreneur, small business owner, whatever, like that is so far from reality because that list, you never get it done. And it's really easy to kind of burn out in that same, that's, yeah, really easy to burn out because you're just never done. And that's a lot of like what my experience with fatherhood is. A lot better than owning a small business for sure. um, but and I think having a small business like helped me understand that too. It's like it's okay not to get everything done. Like, this is what I can do. I've done good. This is my day. Tomorrow's another day. And really kind of embracing a process versus a project. And I think that fatherhood is just that, right? Like, I can't go into it as a project. I have to go into it as a process, which means that, I mean, my daughters aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. My wife's not perfect. Situations aren't perfect. All that being said, like, I wouldn't change anything over the last 13 years. Like, there isn't any moments that I'm like, oh, like, why did I do that? Or, it's more along the lines of like, I wish I'd done more of that.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily a regret is like a really painful emotion to deal with. um I think there's a lot of people who go through really tragic circumstances that have like crippling regret, and getting through that is probably one of the hardest things that anyone could do. I think there's a lot of people that go through that sort of thing. um so I'm not sure, if regret is the thing, right? There has to be a word, and I don't know what it is, of you know, you didn't get as much juice out of that squeeze as you could have, and looking back at it as you should have or would have if you were to do it again, right? It's not exactly like a regret of something that happened as much as it's like, I just could have done this a little bit more or a little bit better or had a little bit more of this experience.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Like regret, I think about like, oh, I want to go back and I want to change something because it
Yeah.
it didn't work. With being a father, it's like I want to go back to um apply what I know now to make things even better, right? Or to appreciate those moments that I think about often.